You know, so I usually do my homework. I'll find somebody who knows somebody or something. They could give me some information, like, who is it? Like, who is he? And, you know, Frenchie, they got me the tape. They got me the tape of his mother's house, where his mom's work at. You know what I'm saying? The other cribs, the studios, stuff like that.
That's the Cali tape.
Right.
Okay.
What if I told you that behind the flashy cars, the chart battles, and all the nonstop trolling, there's a $1 billion scheme hiding in plain sight, and 50 Cent swears he just blew the lid off it? This isn't your average rap beef. What's being teased here could flip French Montana's entire career on its head, and maybe even expose how some of hip-hop's biggest names are really playing the game when the cameras aren't rolling. It all started with what looked like an innocent flex. French Montana popped out with a video, grinning ear to ear while showing off his new Bugatti.
This is the daughter of the ruler of Dubai, and apparently she uses controversial rule on social media.
To the casual fan, it was nothing but another rapper enjoying his riches. But in hip-hop, nothing is ever that simple. Timing matters, context matters, and every little detail gets dissected like evidence in a courtroom. And that's when 50 Cent pounced. Instead of giving French props, 50 threw one of his classic haymakers. He clowned the Bugatti, calling it outdated, old, and basically accusing French of copping a used luxury ride just to look hot. Now, if this came from anybody else, people might have brushed it off. But from 50, that's a declaration of war. Because when 50 aims at someone, there's always a bigger play lurking in the shadows. French wasn't about to stay quiet. He fired back almost instantly, flipping the whole thing on 50 and accusing him of being the fraud. He didn't just talk cars, he went straight for the jugular, claiming 50's streaming numbers were fake, boosted, and flat out bought to make him look more relevant than he really is. Imagine that, calling one of rap's biggest moguls a manufactured success story.
Actually learned, a friend of mine is an air hostess, and her friend was on a flight with her, and her friend was eating like a very specific diet. So apparently the thing is, it's actually a control thing. I don't know if I can speak about sheikhs and
No, speak.
So these guys actually pay these women to hold a strict diet for like 2 weeks so that they can know that they are in complete control of what that woman is putting into her body, and the girl needs shit on them.
Wow.
So the girls aren't even getting shit on, the girls are shit on these guys, because then the guys feel like it's sick, like it's a control thing. So then they know, like, oh, you listened to me for 2 weeks.
Yeah, so that's probably their kink, that girls actually listen to them.
No 2-minute noodle.
Suddenly, this wasn't about cars anymore. It was about credibility, fraud, and image manipulation. And in hip-hop, where authenticity is everything, those are fighting words. From there, things went nuclear. French stopped playing defense and went straight into attack mode. He didn't just question 50's music. He painted him as irrelevant, bitter, and desperate for attention. He called out his age, mocked his hunger for clout, and basically tried to strip away every ounce of the respect 50 built up over decades. At that point, it wasn't about a Bugatti. It wasn't even about music. It was about legacy, reputation, and pride. And let's be real, this is exactly the kind of chaos 50 thrives in. He's made a career out of embarrassing rivals, dragging them in public and making every beef feel like a heavyweight title fight. But this time, French wasn't just dodging shots. He was throwing them right back, aiming to bring 50 down from his throne. The second the insults went beyond music and image, the feud stopped being entertainment. It got personal, deadly personal. What really made it catch fire was the history between these two.
I'm sure there were some other ones also.
Yeah. I came to Steve Rifkin when I had Chopper Down. I walked in the office, it was him and Gabi. And Gabi was manager. I was like, yo, Steve, give me $200,000. Let me go make music. You know what I'm saying? Just let me. Steve was like, nah, I'll give it to you.
Never got it.
Never got it. I dropped.
Which is funny because Gabi's the president of SRC. Steve is like the CEO, but
so I don't know what type of
but Steve makes the final call.
Yeah. So I asked for $200,000. You know what I'm saying?
This wasn't the first time 50 set his sights on French. Their paths had been colliding for years, over money, over music, and sometimes just raw pride. Every time they crossed, sparks flew, and fans knew it was only a matter of time before things got ugly again. By now, fans were used to watching them trade shots, but this round, it hit different. It wasn't playful, it had teeth. Why? Because behind all the flashy Bugatti headlines and social media clowning, there was a deeper fight brewing. Both men were battling for something much bigger than likes or clout. They were fighting for relevance, for legacy, and for control of the story being told about them. For 50, clowning French was another chance to prove he could still dominate the culture at will. Every jab was a reminder that he could flip the spotlight anytime he wanted. For French, firing back wasn't just self-defense, it was a once-in-a-lifetime shot to show he wasn't scared of one of rap's most ruthless trolls. If he could make 50 bleed even a little in public, that would be a career-defining moment. And the audience was eating it up. Social media exploded. Memes, remixes, debates, non-stop drama. On one side, people laughed at 50's claims that French was flexing with a dated Bugatti like it was 2010. On the other, French fans swore he had a point when he accused 50 of inflating his numbers with fake streams. Suddenly, it wasn't just beef. It was a courtroom trial with millions of spectators, everyone picking sides on what was real and what was pure smoke and mirrors. But here's where things took a sinister turn. While the internet was busy laughing at the Bugatti jokes, nobody saw the storm coming. That was just the opening act. What came next dragged the feud into darker, more dangerous territory that nobody expected. Out of nowhere, French dropped a nuclear bomb. Paperwork, not just rumors, not just shade. He waved around what he claimed were actual legal documents. And according to him, those papers suggested something that could stain 50's name forever, that he had once worked with authorities. In the rap game, that kind of accusation isn't just shade, it's lethal. Street credibility is everything. It's the unspoken currency more valuable than money itself. And the second you're tied to cooperating with authorities, true or not, your whole reputation is on life support. With one move, French turned the feud from a car joke into a question of survival for 50's street image. Nothing in hip-hop hits harder than being branded a snitch. French knew exactly what he was doing when he dragged those claims into the spotlight. This wasn't just an insult. It was a direct attack at the foundation of 50's entire persona. For decades, 50 had built his image as untouchable, the guy who survived real gunfire, went to war with enemies in the streets and in the industry, and still came out on top. To suddenly paint him as an informant, that was like trying to flip his entire legacy upside down in one move, and the reaction was immediate. Fans split into two camps. Some demanded receipts, pressing to see if the paperwork French was flaunting had any truth to it. Others dismissed it as pure trolling, a desperate attempt to one-up a rival who's practically perfected the art of humiliating his opponents in public. But here's the truth. Whether the paperwork was real or fake almost didn't matter. What mattered was the doubt. In hip-hop, once that seed is planted, it spreads like wildfire. A single question mark over your street credibility can be more damaging than any diss track, and once it's out there, it's nearly impossible to erase completely. Of course, 50 wasn't going to let it slide. He went straight on the offensive, clowning French and brushing off the so-called snitch papers as nothing more than a clumsy, desperate stunt for attention. He framed it as proof that French was out of his league, unable to outsmart or out-strategize him. To 50, the move wasn't power, it was weakness, showing just how far French would reach trying to land a shot. But here's where things got real interesting. French's decision to attack credibility instead of music revealed just how deep this feud had gotten. At this point, it wasn't about cars, hit records, or flexing on the gram anymore. It was about destroying identities. If French could convince people that 50's legacy was smoke and mirrors, that he'd built his empire on lies, it would be the ultimate checkmate. And don't think the timing was random. French had been scrambling to stay relevant in a game that changes faster than ever, often accused of leaning on features from bigger artists just to keep his name alive. Meanwhile, 50 had been shifting lanes, building an empire in TV, film, and business while spending less energy on music. So for French, pulling 50 back into a messy public feud was strategic. It forced him into the battlefield again, whether he wanted to be there or not. This was the point where things might have finally tilted in French's favor. His move tapped into one of the darkest truths about hip-hop culture. Fans love the mess, drama, rumors, scandals, and leaked documents spread faster than any single or music video ever could. French wasn't just fighting 50 Cent anymore. He was performing for the crowd, giving the internet the kind of circus that guaranteed memes, clicks, and endless conversation. But here's the twist. As explosive as those snitch papers were, that wasn't the end of the story. Almost immediately, the narrative started to shift. Instead of just talking about betrayal and accusations, the feud morphed into something bigger, a debate about marketing genius. Suddenly, people weren't only asking if 50 was a fraud, they were asking if maybe he was outsmarting everybody with a strategy so bold it bordered on brilliant, and French himself ended up proving that point. After throwing the paperwork stunt, the feud could have fizzled out or gone stale, but French pivoted, and in that pivot, he might have revealed way more than he intended. In a rare, almost unguarded moment, French admitted something shocking. He actually considered 50 Cent a role model. Not because of the music, not even because of his business empire, but because of one thing: 50's ability to weaponize beef and flip it into branding. According to French, 50 had a formula: pick a target, stir up chaos, dominate headlines, then cash in with a new project, a release, or some kind of media splash. It wasn't just trolling, it was orchestration, a carefully calculated system. And the craziest part? The receipts were there. Every feud 50 ever had, from Ja Rule to Rick Ross, followed the exact same pattern. He turned rivalries into free promo and walked away with money in his pocket while his enemies were left picking up the pieces. To hear French admit this, even in the middle of their battle, was wild. It showed just how much 50 had mastered the game. So much so that even the people beefing with him had to give him credit. Think about it. Almost every single time 50 made headlines for tearing someone apart, a project dropped right after. Diss Ja Rule, then boom, Get Rich or Die Trying takes over the world. Fire shots at Rick Ross, and suddenly, G-Unit projects are on deck. Even his messy clashes with Diddy and Floyd Mayweather seemed to pop up right when he needed the buzz the most, always keeping 50's name in the spotlight exactly when it mattered most. So when French made that revelation, it didn't sound like an insult. It hit like a backhanded compliment. On one side, he was accusing 50 of being manipulative, of treating beef like nothing more than a giant PR stunt. But on the other, he was straight up admitting the strategy worked. Maybe the trolling wasn't random at all. Maybe every headline, every feud, every clowning moment was part of a carefully built system, a blueprint designed to keep the empire alive and pumping out cash. And that's when the whispers about a so-called $7 billion escape plan started circling. Suddenly, all the dots started connecting. Was 50 really just beefing for sport? Or had he been running a billion-dollar playbook right in front of everyone this whole time? One thing's for sure, this feud wasn't just about cars or clout. It was a masterclass in power moves, reputation, and survival in the rap game. And if you rocked with this breakdown, don't forget to hit that like button, drop a comment, share it with your people, and of course, subscribe so you don't miss the next video. Trust me, the next chapter is gonna be even crazier. See you there.